All right, go ahead, Wayne.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the December meeting of the Elementary School Building Committee to order. I think we have a pretty straightforward agenda tonight. I think we will probably be brief, but I want to start out with acknowledging the terrific presentation that Denise made last night to the select board regarding the architectural award that Taipei received for the Clyde Brown project. Denise, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Apparently not.
Denise may be muted. Hold on. Bring up my participants. Nope, you're not muted.
How about now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, sorry, it was my settings. I usually use a headset. Thank you, Wayne, and thanks to Chairman McCaffrey for inviting us to come speak at last night's Board of Selectmen meeting, or Select Board meeting. So I was thrilled that our new superintendent, Robert Mullaney, and new Clyde Brown principal, Tana Django, both who in their, Tana in her first year ever as a principal, has this year that she's dealing with tremendously well, joined last night, and they did most of the talking and did a wonderful job. So Bob talked a bit about the award itself, and then Tana spoke about how the students are using the school and how effective it is, from the steam room to the space. She specifically called out, which I loved, the benefit of having a library in each of the different areas, and how easy it was for the students to move in and out of the classrooms into the common areas. So all of the things that Taipei had called out as sort of unique as part of the design are things that they're really taking advantage of in the school. So yeah, and I thought they both did a wonderful job, and we're just really grateful to the community for having supported us through the project, and congratulations to everybody, Compass, this team here, and Taipei. Is really, it's a great honor for a fantastic building.
And Denise, I really think you struck the right chord there, because it's not just an acknowledgement of a nice design for an architect, but it's the application of that design to a really functional space that really it means a lot. And I think it was very powerful coming from Robert Mullaney and Tana Django, as the people who live and use the building, to make that case. And so I hope that's not lost on the voters, because I think that's the real value in what we set out to do, and I think the award is an acknowledgement of that. So I'm thrilled by it. I think Jim is. Otherwise, I don't think he would have invited us to say something at the last night's meeting. And I think it's a terrific thing for the community.
And Wayne, I just wanted to chime in that it was a team effort. The police chief, the fire chief, DPW, I mean, the school, everybody was involved in this project. Everybody had input, and it was really a community effort.
Yep, certainly agreed.
Wayne, I want to just echo what you were saying. I mean, I was very excited to be able to invite the school folks to our meeting, which we kicked off the meeting with their presentation. And it was particularly striking, I thought, that really two leaders of the education here in Millis who weren't involved in building the building, just gave it kudos for the way it works to serve the community, serve the students. And I just think it was a really short but powerful presentation, and I want to thank Denise for putting it together on such quick notice.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Thank you. Well, unless there are other comments, let's get on with the financial. It looks like it's the financial implications of where we are. There's no work that's been done since the last meeting. I think
The only work that's been done since the last meeting was we've resolved a number of the punch list items, so we're down to really 3 key issues that we're still monitoring. One being the color matching of the tennis court surface. The surfacer is committed to coming back and attempting to improve that when the weather warms back up in the spring. Obviously, the Central Nurseries situation is ongoing. They have finished all of their fall plantings, and since the last meeting, they did send that letter at the end of the month acknowledging that they're going to return in the spring and bring the landscape into compliance. And we also have the Room 250 issue, which is just an item that we're monitoring to ensure that it's fully resolved. We don't have any reason to think that it's not at this time, but because it only occurs under certain conditions, we're continuing to watch it. Excuse me. And I think John is really spearheading the data collection on that front.
Yep. So all things that we know about, all things really under control. The only point that I would make in regard to Central Nurseries is I was pleased that the president of the company did in fact comply with our strong request that he personally respond with a commitment to come back in the spring and complete his contractual requirements. I have a slightly different opinion as to the degree of completion and whether or not it is acceptable at this point, but nevertheless, we'll resolve that in the spring.
Yeah, and we did note to him that in a response that we acknowledged that he committed to returning in the spring, but we also clarified that we don't agree with the position that it's acceptable now and look forward to it being brought to an acceptable level in the spring.
Okay. So I don't know that there are any community communications to discuss.
I don't have any myself. I sort of left that on because we're at the point where the project's wrapping up, and I wanted to give the committee an opportunity to discuss anything that they wish to bring up. That it sort of falls under the project award for this week, but I didn't have anything to add to that.
So I think when Diane returns, that we'll want to put something on Facebook. Denise, any thought to put something regarding the award on the school website?
Yes, I'll talk with superintendent and ask him to put something out. I know he just sent something around to all of the staff. That was actually just earlier today. So I'll ask him to get something up on the school website, and we'll put something on the Clyde Brown Facebook page as well. So I'll take care of that with Bob.
Great, great. So looks like we have, moving on, 2 change orders to discuss.
Yep.
One is the credit for the fence, which is a reduction in scope. We did not put a fence behind the property that is Keith's Tackle Shop. We were going to wait and see if a fence there was needed, and so there was a substantial reduction in scope in that area. I think we owe this credit to Chris Eberly for really dogging this. Agostini was not anxious to give us the credit, and I know they had issues with not only their original fence contractor, but then the one who came in to fill in for them. So this would not have been realized if it weren't for Chris's effort to get it done. So thank you, Chris.
I appreciate that, Wayne.
So this is a $6,000 credit off of what had already been really committed to for fencing in that area. All that work is complete.
Yep.
And then we have the final change order, which I guess is the bigger news, which is, just blow that up a little more, Chris, if you would.
Sure. So this liquidates there. It's probably not the final change order. There is still a little bit remaining in the allowance and mainly in the contingency for Agostini to resolve any issues that might come up that remain. But this is the majority of the remaining allowances and contingency being liquidated and returned because they were not necessary to be used by Agostini for the construction of the building.
So you've been through all these, I assume, Chris?
Yep. We thoroughly reviewed this and compared it against the pay rec and the previous documents, and we're comfortable with this amount at this time. It essentially brings them down to I want to say $20,000 of remaining contingency at this point.
All right. So now, and this is for you, Mr. McCaffrey. This is a heads up. Chris, if you will pull up the VIP, please.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Trying to make sure it doesn't get angry at me and shut everything down.
There we go. All the way to the back.
Yep.
I want to go to your
to the Compass budget or to the ProPay budget?
The Compass budget.
He wants to go to the point that's circled.
Yes. All right, there we go. Go to the bottom.
Yep.
If you'd expand that, I'd appreciate it. That's how far we are under budget as of this moment.
That's good.
And I think there remains opportunity to grow. There are a few line items that we received the final bill from TAP A as part of this month's VIP. So the column here, the sort of left to spend.
Yep.
It's the difference between the spent and the committed. This 54,000. I'm sorry, that's us. It's 26,000. I do not believe at this time that TAP A plans to invoice against any of that. You'll notice when we get to the TAP A bill that there's a number of line items that are not billed 100%, and Charlie confirmed for me that he doesn't intend to bill for that because those were essentially not to exceeds that were not required.
All right. Well, I know there's still a few moving parts to this. I think there's some budget in the Compass line items that don't look like they'll be spent. I think you've got something for testing,
yeah, there's a few little things. Bear in mind that we have in the past had to spend money as part of the audit process, as certain issues come up with the MSBA audit that, for myriad of reasons, that there's no hard and fast rule of why that would come up.
No, I understand, but I think the point is we were a little shy earlier in the year about committing to how far under budget we would be. We went public with a number of 3.5 million, 3.5 million or more, and now we are at the or more, and so it's significant. And I just want to let everybody know that with very few issues that could create an exposure here, we are going to be that much under budget, and that's really significant.
And if I recall correctly, Wayne, the total project budget here is not the original expenditure that the town passed. It was reduced as part of the, I want to say it's it was the PFA process with the MSBA as the design developed. So there's an additional that isn't captured in this versus that original expenditure that was voted on by the town. And I'm trying to find that number, and I'm not succeeding at the moment.
Well, let's not guess at it. I want to be precise about it. So at our next meeting, let's define that and any other moving pieces. And we'll let the town know from their approval standpoint how much under we actually are. Any questions?
I think that certainly I agree, Wayne, that when the number is finalized, it's certainly something that we need to continue to communicate. And I think we need to make sure that we have a fairly simple presentation of some sort. I don't know where we would do it, to indicate that, this project was managed. Not only was it an award-winning project, but of course it's come in substantially under budget. So, it's just an important thing. To keep reminding people. I had a question though about the timing there. Not that we're pretty clear, but I mean, as I understood it, the final closeout of the project really depends on MSBA completing its work, which could be another year or whatever of review and audit and whatnot. Is that correct?
So the final closeout as a result of the decision that was made to delay acceptance of the landscape until spring also delays the start of the final audit. The final audit process, which can take 9 months to a year, and is tied to certain MSBA dates. That process does not begin until you have final payment to your contractor. So until we resolve the lawn and landscaping issues with Central Nurseries, that process will not start.
What's the risk of being more definitive with the number without the final green light from the MSBA?
It gets in. We're not talking about a lot of money that's sort of left on the table at this point. You can see here in terms of what's available, we have 3.6 million in uncommitted funds, and then we have 226,000 that's left to spend. So, that gets into sort of what's within the confines of this, what's left to spend that could pop up there. There's the possibility that we have to spend money on things that have yet to be identified as part of the audit process. And, understand that the audit process goes for a year. So as they're reviewing things, they might find something. I mean, I know we have projects that have had extended audits, and that, those extended audits have costs associated with them. So we're closer to sort of the definition of that number, but we wouldn't want to tell you how much money you're getting back and then end up over-promising and under-delivering.
Right. Okay, well, I guess that we should discuss at some point. I'm looking at the recurring communication pieces that go to the town. I mean, there's an annual report, as we all know. The annual report is a calendar year report. So whether we want to say something in the annual report, either from the elementary school building committee, the school committee, the select board, in our reports, might be sensible to do something, because it's pretty close to being the final number without too much of a risk. The second opportunity, of course, is in Finance Committee preparing its report to town meeting, which is in May. Is there some opportunity to say something about the project in that report too? Those are, important communication opportunities for the town and the town government. So I don't want to miss those if there's something we can say in those two documents that, is going to be true, and it's going to be pretty close to being the final number, because waiting for the MSBA now then becomes simply, anticlimactic. I mean, it was just that people will stop, will lose interest in the fact that we completed this the way we've done if we don't use these two opportunities that I see coming to just reinforce this, this issue. I mean, I certainly see us including in the town report somewhere, acknowledgement of the architectural award, because again, it's something to be proud of, and it's something that occurred in this calendar year. So I think it's something that we want to communicate. But if we can do it and also include the right kind of message in terms of the financials, I think that'd be helpful.
Jim, I don't have any reservation about being able to put on a number with the appropriate qualifiers and some parameters about where the number could potentially change. I think we know enough at this point to be able to do that. I'm comfortable in doing that. I don't think we need to add up all the pennies before we're able to go public on it. In fact, we've gone public a number of times, and I think everybody here agrees that we should keep these communications in the forefront of the town, because I think they're substantial. There's a substantial financial implication, and I think we can do so safely.
And I think one of the hesitations to project is not so much where you are under budget versus this $51,988,518 overall budget. But the other factor is where the reimbursement from the MSBA falls versus what you've already received to date, and what the town's direct share of that cost is. And that's something that can be difficult to predict at this juncture before the audit process starts.
But there's only about $300,000 in there, and I'm not going to let $300,000 keep us from saying something relatively definitive, and we will do that.
Well, certainly, I'm very comfortable with that. If the ESBC is comfortable with it, I would just, my request is that you folks agree, or give me whatever caveats, that these two items that I mentioned, these two opportunities to communicate this, I think are something that I agree with you, Wayne. To ignore it is probably not the right way to go, because this is a significant thing.
Right. We are happy to do so.
Right. Good.
Good.
All right. We do it, but I think that's part of the plan then.
Good. We will do that, and we can do it in a number of different platforms. I don't see there's a reason to do it in one place and not another. Certainly in the ESBC annual report, we will make mention of it there. I think the school folks have a number of places where they can and should confirm it as well, and certainly the select board and the finance committee have the opportunity to do that as well. All right, so let's confirm some of these things. It looks like we've got two change orders to approve, so I would entertain a motion to approve. How do we want to do this? Should we do each one individually?
And just, these were included in the pay rec, so with the assumption that the town was going to approve them, we can do them individually, Wayne, or we can do them together. I believe it's going to be change order 37.
So So it's just $6,000 plus, what's that number again?
$470,089.13.
Oh, so you've got the total there with both of them. 476,089.13 is the total.
Yeah.
All
right, I make a motion. Oh,
Go ahead,
that I make a motion that we approve and I can't see it. Is that a credit there, Chris? Because you
Yeah,
have
it's a credit. It's so it's change order, or it's PCOs 161 R1 and 151 for a total credit of $476 and $89.13.
All right, so I make a motion that the two previous change orders that Chris had mentioned for the amount of a credit of $476,089.13 be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Denise Gibbons, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rich Nichols, how do you vote?
Aye.
Wayne Clarko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
So in terms of construction administration updates, Agostini did confirm that they are intending to send, or right now they plan to send an invoice for December. I can't comment on what it'll include or how much it'll be for because I haven't seen it yet. But there will be an invoice for December for them. We will also have an invoice for us for December. Compass was going to suggest, because we're approaching the point where work is essentially going to go dormant for the winter, we were going to suggest that if your next meeting is just approval of invoices, we could, in an effort to not accrue unnecessary hours, we could not attend the next meeting. We'll certainly be available if you'd like us to be available. But I didn't know if you wanted us to be accruing, too many billable hours while the project's essentially dormant for this purpose, or whether that's something the ESBC can handle on their own.
Compass is going to be necessary to review Agostini's submittal, so you're going to be incurring costs then.
Yes,
if your intention is not to attend a meeting, then I would suggest that Compass or Agostini not submit a bill. So
okay. We're happy to continue attending the meetings, and I'm not implying at all that I don't love talking to you all every month. It's just it's a long audit process, and it's been extended already into the spring, so it's an opportunity to sort of avoid accruing costs as we approach those milestones.
Chris, are you saying that basically your hours for the meeting are billable, and that your Compass is offering not to charge for this time?
Well, we have essentially a not to exceed contract with the town for the scope of work, so we bill against that number for the hours that we incur. So we'll incur less hours if we're not preparing an agenda for the meeting and attending the meeting and preparing for the meeting. It's a potential way to cut costs for the town and have more of that support available later on down the road. But we do this with towns when these situations come up where, we're not going to have construction ongoing for the next couple of months, and it's the town's option. We work for you, and we'll do what you ask us to do.
So let's handle it this way, Chris. When you get Agostini's December bill, review it and send it to me and give me your comments as to whether or not you think it's in order, and if there's anything that the committee needs to discuss that would require your presence, and then we can decide at that time whether or not you need to attend.
And we would still generate the vendor invoice package for the town, and we'd still transmit that. I don't mean to imply that we wouldn't be doing those steps that we typically do every month. So we'll still be reviewing the pay rec and any other invoices that come in, and then forwarding our comments as we as we typically would for any other expense.
Good. All right.
We will miss seeing you in your basement, though.
Yeah.
It's not the basement, it's blared.
No, I'm in the basement. I'm in the bunker. All right. So let's look at the bills.
All right. Again, we don't play favorites. Compass just comes first alphabetically. So the first bill is for Compass for professional services in the month of November for $6,049.
I make a motion that we approve the amount of $6,049 for Compass management for the professional services in the month of November.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Denise Gibbons, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rich Nichols, how do you vote?
Aye.
Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
So the next bill is, this would be TAPA's final invoice. So as I mentioned previously, there are certain items such as site investigation, geotech, hazmat, and Amendment 8 where they did not incur those costs. And Charlie confirmed to me today that they don't intend to bill against those. So that essentially makes this their final invoice. They have said that they'll continue to support the project as needed to complete the acceptance of the landscape in the spring. And at this time, we're recommending that you pay this invoice. I think TAPA has done an exemplary job for the town, and it would be appropriate to pay this invoice at this time.
I agree. I'll move that we pay TAPA $9,065.45 to close out their contract.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Denise, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rich Nichols.
Aye.
Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Chris, what's left then? What's the delta between this final payment and their?
I did not add that up. It's about 7,000. As I look quickly, I believe it's in the neighborhood of about $7,000. But right. I could be misreading that. I know that actually it's a lot more than that because the geotech one was a lot higher.
Well, all right. I'll look at that. We'll deal with that next time. All right.
The next invoice, this essentially closes out the geotech scope for GZA related to radon. They billed the remaining $380.62 that was in their contract.
I make a motion that we approve the invoice for GZA, and I can't read the amount because you made it smaller now.
Sorry, my ongoing tech issues are not helping me.
$380.62.
Second.
$380.62.
Second.
Denise, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rich Nichols, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
This next item was the lawnmower that was authorized for the school to purchase. They took delivery on it, and so the invoice came due for $4,044 to Norfolk Power Equipment.
I make a motion that we approve the invoice for $4,044 to Norfolk Power Equipment for the
Second.
purchase of a lawnmower.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Denise, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rich Nichols, how do you vote?
Aye.
Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
And finally, so Agostini's invoice, just a couple of notes on this. This month's invoice was for $248,118.31. It also, through the changes that you just approved for the credit change orders, lowers their contract sum significantly by the $400,000+. And so their remaining balance after this pay rec would be in the neighborhood of $120,000. So that's remaining retainage and billable amounts to Cape and Islands, who are the surfacer, the remaining money to Agostini themselves for their remaining retainage, and
Central Nurseries.
Central Nurseries. And those are the primary items that that remain out there. As part of this, they requested retainage. Just opening that up. Agostini initially had requested all of their retainage. We felt that given the ongoing to be resolved issues with Cape and Islands and Central Nurseries, as well as some remaining sort of office paperwork issues, we had them reduce that to what would be a remaining Agostini retainage of $20,000. So you're releasing, as part of this proposal, $188,664.50 of retainage to Agostini. You're also fully releasing Steel Co., the fencing sub, as well as Dorenzo, the site work sub, as part of the approval of this rec.
So it looks like $215,000 or roughly of this monthly requisition from Agostini is retainage.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you go back to that number so we can see
I
it?
can do it if you want, Rich.
Okay, go ahead.
Zoom it up
I
a
make a
little bit for you.
motion. I make a motion to pay Agostini in the amount of $248,118.31.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Denise, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rich Nichols, how do you vote?
Aye.
Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
I believe that's all we had for today.
All right. Kim, we have some minutes to approve.
We do, from November 17th.
I move that we approve the November 17th meeting minutes as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Denise Gibbons, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rich Nichols, how do you vote?
Aye.
Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. All right, so Chris, has Agostini, have you talked to Agostini about submitting a pencil rec?
I did. I had that conversation with Julie. I don't have the dates that she's going to submit it. But she did confirm that they were interested in billing something for December. I'm not sure what it will be. So I'm waiting to find that out, but we would be looking for them to get that to us next week. And I can't imagine it's going to have that long of a turnaround considering what remains for open items.
We've got a number of other meetings next month regarding our DPW project. I'd like to push this off as late in the month as possible. Denise and Rich, if you have meetings for the 26th of January?
Hold on. No, I'm clear.
And I'm clear as well.
let's pencil this in as for the 26th then. And that'll give us some time to deal with the other things we've got going on in town.
All right, sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, that concludes the business as I see it. Anything else that the committee would like to raise and discuss this evening?
No, I just, the one thing I do want to say is I kind of echo your comments earlier on TAPE's involvement in the project. I think Charlie and his group did a nice job. I think they were very thoughtful, very professional, and I think they did a great job for the town.
Couldn't agree more, Rich. We've worked with a number of architects on projects over the last 25 years, and they're right up there at the top. They were a finalist, I think, for the library, and we did not select them. But I couldn't be more pleased with TAPE's performance on this project. And I think the results speak for themselves.
Wayne,
All right.
let me ask you, does that result potentially in some kind of more formal correspondence, thanking them for their efforts, congratulating them on the award, and indicating, that we're happy to be a reference or whatever?
I have not done that yet. I've talked to Charlie a number of times. He's been a little, he's not in any way asked for any kind of a recommendation from us, but
Well, that's just another example of his professionalism then, right?
I believe there is I want to say I don't think it's DCAM. I think it's actually the MSBA does have an evaluation form for the architect.
Okay.
I'll have to check with Jeff for the particulars of that, but I can follow up with information about that. That would be one way to acknowledge them in a professionally helpful way, because as you know from going through this process, the town is free to pick their OPM, but the architects are chosen from sort of an MSBA stable of architects that are approved through a separate process. So that would be one avenue that the town would have to show their pleasure with the services that they received.
Well, and those are not mutually exclusive, so we can do both. We can write them a letter thanking them, and we can fill out whatever evaluation the MSBA has for them as well. All right, happy to do it. All right. Anything else?
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, motion accepted. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yes,
Happy holidays.
Happy
night.
holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.